goes against the principle of F1.
I'm getting increasingly actually bored of F1 because of this now. I'm joining the Drew camp. I need it gone, and it's really starting to annoy me.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Very well, yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, very busy weekend watching lots and lots of motorsport. Obviously, we had Belgium, which is what we're here to talk about today, but we also had WRC Estonia, and we had some rallycross, which was absolutely amazing. We are obviously here today to talk about the F1, though, so shall we crack on?
We shall indeed. So what did you think of the race?
It was good. I don't think it set the world alight in terms of full-on excitement. I didn't feel my heart rate up there like I was with Britain, with the British GP. It was good. It had its problems. Some teams had their problems. Specifically, certain drivers had their problems, but it was all right. What did you reckon?
I think it was really good at the start, terrible middle, and a decent 10 laps at the end, I guess. I think that Leclerc certainly could have caught Antonelli, but didn't. But that start, I think I need to get onto someone who keeps messing up and having a minor collision, damages his car slightly, and it ruins and sacrifices the rest of his race. And it also takes out George in the process. What is going on with Hamilton at the moment, do you think?
Okay. It's not who I thought you were going to say.
Oh,
genuinely. You've gone to the other side of the track. I did not expect that. So for me, that wasn't Hamilton's fault. It was turn 3, I think, maybe turn 4, maybe even 5. I can't remember. We're on lap 1. He's surrounded by the pack. He had nowhere to go. And I don't even think he moved under braking. He didn't move left. Russell did. He moved right. He turned into the corner, but obviously Hamilton was there and he caught him, span himself around and pitched himself off into the gravel trap. For me, it was a racing incident. And actually, more interestingly, both of the boys think it's a racing incident as well. I don't think it's anything more than that. And I think, again, we've mentioned, I've mentioned this many times this year. This is yet another example why we need full-time stewards, as in the same stewards that travel from track to track to track, as much as you can with a predefined rulebook.
Did you read what they said about why they gave them the 5-second penalty? They said, it's lap 1. Yeah. They are likely to have cars all around each other, so that's why they were going to give him a 10-second, which is why they gave him a 5 seconds, and they thought that was justified. They also said that he wasn't completely at fault, it was just a racing incident, and they said in the report it's a racing incident, and then slapped him with a 5-second penalty anyway.
Yeah.
Consistency. And also, that didn't happen to, was it Leclerc and Piastri?
I was going to come on to that actually in a bit, but yeah, if it's so early on, that for me, there was no bad intent there. No. Hamilton didn't try and pitch him off. He didn't try and crowd him out. It was purely and simply a racing incident. I think just because Russell ended up retiring because of it, I think that's what caused it. I actually expected Leclerc's to result in a penalty because he did slightly move. Not much, but ever so slightly he did turn in. And he got away with it, which just, to me, doesn't make sense. Yes, we don't have all the angles and the slow-mos that they do, unless there's some damning evidence that we haven't seen. I think that we've seen enough to say that if there was going to be one, Leclerc should have had it and not Hamilton. I don't think it was justified. And I don't think he did anything wrong. As it turns out, I'm pretty sure it's official because Russell pretty much admitted it at the end of the race, post-race. The whole incident has been caused by a pre-existing fault, that goes back to Britain. to the British GP, which they didn't even realise, and they've only really found out about it purely by accident, I guess. He seems to have some sort of deployment issue going down the straights. He's using more at the start, which means he's running out towards the end. It's a wonder they even managed to find it in the first place, apparently, according to George. But they have found it. They're not 100% sure what the root cause is yet, so that's not going to be fixed for next time out in Hungary. They will get on top of it pretty quickly, but it's effectively meaning that he's got a reduction in top speed at the end of straight. So he was running out of power, and that's what led to him getting swamped and being in that position in the first place.
Yeah, but I think this just goes back to the whole super clipping issue. As I was watching the onboard of Leclerc, and he actually dropped a gear down in Eau Rouge, charged his battery fully up, and then he didn't have a mushroom. He had an absolute magic star of a start. He flew straight down. And this is what annoys me, because why is it that you're going to go slower around one of the coolest and most amazing corners in the F1 calendar, and that's when you get your bonus for the rest of the circuit? Which is also the issue of when, like Verstappen, he should have literally been fighting for pole position from that start. He was absolutely on form, and he just got absolutely swamped. He was actually surrounded by about 5 different cars. Yeah. And because he used his battery too early, he then lost everything. And it shouldn't be about that. It should be get your foot to the floor, and hopefully you can go around without lifting. That's what it was like back in the day. That's how it should be now. They've just lost it. Yeah. I'm getting increasingly actually bored of F1 because of this now. I'm joining the Drew camp. I need it gone, and it's really starting to annoy me, to be honest.
This is exactly what Max has been saying. It goes against the principle of F1. Being the fastest, driving the fastest that you can in the machine that you have around a circuit. Having to manage energy is not racing. This isn't a trip down a motorway trying to maximize your MPG. This is not the point of racing. This is taking a machine and yourself as a driver to the absolute maximum and testing what comes out of that. And if you're having to back off, or worse still, having to recharge, or just simply running out of energy in one of the fastest parts of, a really good, cool track, what is the point? Seriously, what is the point? And I think that's a major player in why Ben Sulleyam's talking about bringing the V8s back in 2030. He's realised it's a mistake.
They're also maybe looking at refueling as well. They're doing some simulations on it, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. That would be interesting.
I think it's just it's a Band-Aid. That's all it is. It is a Band-Aid to fix over the problem at the moment. It probably will help. It is going to mean they're going to use more fuel, or rather use more fuel quicker. I suppose, so they'll run out. Hence why they're thinking about bringing back the refueling, which I'm not sure I'm sold on. I haven't quite decided yet. It would make for a hell of an interesting element to be brought back, yeah. But at the end of the day, it was taken away for safety reasons. Seeing mechanics in flames, doused in fuel, it's not what we're here for. I'm not here for that.
Obviously, you don't want to see anyone caught on fire. But it's another game of chess, really. It's another strategy call. I think it's something they probably should look into, but we'll see where that goes, basically. However, one of the rising stars, as we've said, Kimi Antonelli.
To be honest, I think he's just riding the wave. He's right back on form. I don't think he's done anything majorly wrong this year. I think he's got the momentum in, and he's going with it. Now 6 wins this year, looking incredibly dominant, incredibly confident too. I don't see him faltering at this stage, to be fair. If he doesn't win, it's going to be down to external factors like reliability, and Mercedes do have a variety of reliability issues at the moment. I suppose it's to be expected when you're running at the front under new regs. I'm not pointing fingers here. It's just part of the course. But so long as they can keep the car running and they don't have anything major happen again, I think he's got it in the bag. He is now, do you know what is it? I was going to say 50 points, but it's not. He's 50 points ahead of George at the moment. Oh, it's basically 50 points, isn't it? I mean, Lewis has now moved up to second place after Belgium. Yeah. He's now in second. So he's got it under control. He really does.
I thought, honestly, I think he's already won the championship. I know it's way too early to say, but I don't see a realistic challenger that can topple him. I think George might give him a run towards the end of the season, but I don't think he'll have enough races in hand to actually catch up and make an interesting last race. He's got to really buckle down now, not even after the summer break, right now, to try and catch him. And I don't think Lewis has it in him to be consistent enough and get the wins to beat Kimi. I think Hamilton will be very good, but Kimi just keeps on getting them wins. He keeps getting them extra 7 points that make all the difference. And I think that because Mercedes have had some fairly horrendous reliability issues across both their own team as well as their own sort of teams that they sell engines to, they've managed to fix a lot of the problems and fix a lot of them gremlins, I think. Now they're really just getting down to how to deploy the strategy, where's the best to deploy the boost button. They're doing a lot more compared to other teams in that respect, because a lot of teams now, they're just trying to figure out sort of where things are going wrong with their car. Red Bull have changed the wing again. I feel like Mercedes are completely zeroed in on how to get around one particular track more than any other team, and that is really showing, which I don't know if anyone can catch him, as I said. I really don't.
Well, Mercedes have the legs on everybody when it comes to power tracks. And in terms of the more technical stuff, they're right there as well. Ferrari have a great chassis, but they just don't quite have the same level of power to compete on those power tracks. I think as a package, on the whole, Mercedes are there. And with Kimi Antonelli in the driving seat, they have the entire package. And like I said before, it's going to be an external factor that stops him from winning the championship. I think the building blocks really have been laid down for him. Well, no, not for him, with him, for the championship now. I don't see anybody else realistically winning the championship at this point. So on that, I totally agree with you. As I said in the last one, we have seen it before where consistency wins through.
Yeah.
He does need some more wins, though, does Lewis, to keep up with Kimi. Because I think without a couple of wins throughout the season, he's just going to come in a comfortable second.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is not a bad result. Let's be honest.
Going back off last year, I'm surprised he's even racing. I literally thought he was going to retire and be out of the sport. And however, though, Hamilton's doing all right at the moment. But on the flip side of the garage, obviously a few weeks ago, everyone was saying that Leclerc's done for. Why has he been given his contract extension? All of this stuff. Leclerc's really starting to prove himself in the past couple of races. And I think he's going to keep that momentum going forward. He's found that little sweet spot in Ferrari for the time being, because it's Ferrari. Wow. And I think that Ferrari are going to be maybe battling Mercedes for the constructors, depending on how Russell performs. I'm sort of almost, not to dramatise it, but I'm nearly seeing like a Verstappen sort of like a Yuki sort of situation with Russell, where he's sort of getting himself in a bit of a rut. It's not going quite well, and I think he could damage the team championship in that respect.
Leclerc was having some issues with his car. We all know that now. It's not a secret. He's found the answer to that now, possibly by looking to the other side of the garage, finding the difference in the data, and he's found the solutions, and he is back, which now means that Ferrari have two very, very solid drivers in a car that's fantastic in the technical stuff. Granted, like we've said, not quite as fast as the Mercedes, but it's not that far off, and they've got some more upgrades coming. Unfortunately, so does Mercedes later on in the year. So I think the gap is probably going to stay roughly the same. You're right. I think Antonelli's going to run away with the Drivers' Championship, but I do not see Russell playing a part in this year's championship. Despite all the hype, despite all the expectations at the start of the year, I was going to ask you this. I've actually written down, is this the end of Russell's championship fight this year? With him going out in the race this time round and now 50 points behind, it's not championship over sort of deficit, but with the momentum shift in the direction that his title's gone in, I just don't see him being able to pull a Verstappen and clawing that gap back.
Yeah, no, literally. It is literally a copy and paste of last year. And it's basically Russell is Oscar Piastri, where he had a kind of good start, but he just couldn't keep that momentum, basically, unfortunately. And maybe might be able to claw it back, but realistically speaking, I agree with you completely. I don't think he has it in him. Antonelli is just far too strong. He's far too quick. He manages tyres. Like, he is literally the one to watch. That being, he's probably going to be a multiple-time world champion. And
Definitely.
he'll be up there with the greats. And I'm probably talking, he'll probably smash Verstappen's record, I think, if Mercedes can keep this pace. And I think he's probably one of the few drivers on the grid that realistically has a chance where, if he does get to a point and he feels like he's fulfilled himself with Mercedes, he's got what he wants, he is one of the drivers that could go to a different team and build them up. I'm talking like Hamilton going to Mercedes, Schumacher going to Ferrari, that sort of standard. But obviously, time will tell.
I think he probably will, and I think we've compared him to the likes of Max and Lewis before, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think he definitely is on that road. And what we should really talk about is the effect that's having on George Russell. He played second fiddle for quite a while to Lewis until the regs changed, and obviously Lewis just simply didn't get on with the ground effect cars.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. Lewis moved on, and he finally thought he was in a position to be lead driver, and then this young kid's come along and blown him out of the water. I mean, that has got to be so hard to deal with. I mean, he's got the respect for Kimi. It's like, he's just a bloody good driver. I get that, but it's supposed to be my turn. And I don't know if he can overcome that. I genuinely don't think he's going to overcome that. Actually, I could possibly see him doing a Nico, but without the championship.
What do you mean by that?
Just disappearing.
Oh, right.
I don't see him without a major shift. I don't think there's anywhere for George to go other than down.
Definitely. I mean, he's already on the top team. And I think if history were to repeat itself, and it's Formula One, it does many times, the closest thing I can think of who else was in Russell's position was Daniel Ricciardo when Verstappen joined Red Bull.
Yes, exactly.
Stronger whippersnapper coming up the ranks, beating him. And Daniel Ricciardo went from a sidestep to Renault to a partial step to McLaren and then completely ditched it. And, is he on the grid now? There you go.
Well, even at the time, I thought it was a mistake. I thought Danny Rick made a huge mistake. I get why he left Red Bull, because it was just a toxic environment for him. He couldn't get on well with it. And again, like you say, there was nowhere else for him to go. For me, Renault was a step down, as was McLaren. And I like the guy. I really do love the guy. I think he's mint, but as a driver, I don't think he had it in him to build a team up to the likes of Mercedes or Red Bull at that point. He hadn't even got a championship, I don't think, had he? He's won some races, but he never got a championship. I don't think
not even close, really.
No. So he was never in that position to build a team. And it is what it is. And that was his day in Formula One done, I guess. And I think for George to bring it back, I can see it being the same deal. I'm pretty sure, I can't pull it out of my head the exact details, but I'm fairly certain Lewis has stated he intends to be around for a while. This journey with Ferrari is not 1 or 2 seasons long. It's multiple, like potentially another 5 series. He's fully intending on seeing at least this set of regulations out.
Yeah, if Alonso can drive a green tractor around for 2 or 3 years, Hamilton can drive a Ferrari for 5 or 6.
And get podiums and wins. Yeah, I think he'll be absolutely fine. Whilst we're talking about Ferrari, I have to mention the absolute cock-up again. Now, despite the fact that I don't...
One?
To be fair, there was only the one. It was all one. Despite the fact that he got a 5-second penalty, which I didn't agree with, they took it on the chin, fine. But when he came in for his pit stop, he had a chance of, because I believe he was on the second VSC, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
They had the chance to get a really cheap pit stop there, but they still had to serve the 5-second time penalty. During that point, the front wingman was late. He wasn't in position when Lewis arrived. You could see him rushing, trying to get into position, and he was sort of in amongst like the front right wheel guys. So he never actually got a chance to put front wing on when the pit stop began.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't quite know how this happened, because he must have been stood right next to the lollipop man. So it's like, did you not see him? And he released Lewis too soon. The Jackman dropped the Drax, and he did one, knocking the poor wingman over. Thankfully, he's fine.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, looking at it, and I know this might get me a little bit hate, but I view it as the wingman was in the way of the car. He sort of steps in front. Like, the cars are massive. The tyres are wider than a human body. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Hamilton had no way of seeing him. It was just an error on the release. Fortunately, obviously, he was okay. Hamilton was straight on the radio asking if he was all right, and they said
he stopped.
Yes.
He stopped again and went, is he all right?
And then he went, yes, go.
Yeah.
You are racing.
Yeah.
Although I did hear that Hamilton was disagreeing with Ferrari about the strategy. And they said, yeah, we're on plan B. And he went, what? And again, that's maybe not the strategy calls. That's just the miscommunication. But I think it's something we don't need to read into too much personally. If you do 1,000 calls in a race, which they do, eventually one thing will fall through the cracks. It's not the old Ferrari strategy at the moment.
Isn't it?
I don't believe it is. I think it was a simple error. And I think Ferrari are coming on leaps and bounds, and it's not something to be put too much thought into at the moment. I'll probably choke on my own words next race.
Feel free to knock me back on this, but for me, that was old school Ferrari. That was... So they discussed what they were going to do before the race, and Hamilton assumed he was on plan A still. Then Ferrari strategy decided, oh no, we're actually going to go to plan B, and didn't tell him, because he clearly didn't have a clue what was going on, right? So that's not point number one, them not telling him, just changing their mind for the sake of it. And then the whole cock up with the pit call, for me, that was Ferrari slipping back into old ways again. And
you
they
might
need
have a little bit of a point.
That. They need to stop that. They need to pull the finger out their backsides and focus a bit more, because that, for me, lost them third place. Yes, I know I called Hamilton for third in my predictions, and I'm a little bit bitter. But he should have had it. He had the pace. He had the road position. He could very well have come home in third. And I believe he should have done.
They did say that on the radio as well. I think it was like 4 or 5 laps to go. They said, you can catch Verstappen. It's not impossible, but it will be difficult. And I think Hamilton basically said, I've literally given everything I can with the car that you've given me because of the damage, and basically shut them down. Again, I think Hamilton's just being a realist there, where he's going, look, I'm not going to push this car further than I need to, because he's got to last X amount of race with the engine, the gearbox and all of this. Yeah. I'm just going to cruise in and keep these points, which is what he needs to do. That's how you eventually be champion. Just be consistent and don't go for always the win. Just know what you're achievable, basically.
The thing is, I mean, as soon as he went out, he couldn't turn the car. He knew he didn't have front wing on. And the fact that they didn't tell him coming out of the pits that they hadn't had chance to put the front wing on, he had to ask the pits again. So that's two things that they didn't tell him. One, that the plan had changed, and two, that he didn't have front wing on, which is just poor. And then the fact that he didn't have front wing on meant that he was understeering everywhere, which obviously means he's going to have higher deg on his front wheels, which means he's going to be slower. To be fair, he did pretty damn well considering the lack of downforce, front end downforce. But at the point in which that message went through to him, he had 4 laps to go. 4 laps in Spa. That was about 30 mile left. I don't think it was enough. It was never enough. With the car that he had, that was never going to be enough.
And this is all while Piastri is literally chasing him down.
Exactly. I mean, Piastri had his own issues. I mean, for me, Ferrari cocked up, and I'm hoping that leads to an improvement in future races. They have actually since been given a €30 fine for that, for an unsafe release. 10 of which...
euro?
€30,000.
Ah, right. Okay. Sorry.
So I might not have said 1,000. A €30,000 fine for that. 10 of which, 10 of which is actually suspended, which will be payable if they do it again. We've mentioned him already. Piastri had his own little moment at the start of the race too, knocking, I'm assuming, front wing end plate off.
No, it was part of the side pod, I believe.
Was it? All right.
I think.
So yeah, he lost a bit. He got a bit of damage, didn't he, at the start of the race, which hurt him and began to hurt him more and more as the race progressed. I still think he did all right. Again, though, not a performance to write home about. Didn't set the timing sheets alight. It wasn't an embarrassing performance, I don't think, for Piastri, but it was just uneventful.
But I do think he did the basics. For me, if the basics are beat your teammate, that's it. Which I'm surprised he did. Don't feel like it was not deserved, but I just felt Norris had a bit worse of a race, whereas sort of Piastri capitalised on a little bit more in the strategy, basically.
Yeah. All right, so he did beat his teammate. He came in 5th, and Lando came in 7th. However, Lando's gone in with a 10 grid penalty.
Yeah.
A 10 place grid penalty. That's better. Because his performance in quali was just amazing. It was almost as if McLaren have taken that extra step up or half step up, and they're right there now with Ferrari in terms of actual race pace. They do now have the updated engine and software from Mercedes, so they've got the new power plant. I think their chassis is on fire. It's brilliant. I think they have that. I think they're fairly level pegging. Actually, thinking about it, we've got 2 great drivers in Ferrari, 2 great drivers in McLaren. Both cars are, I would say, almost equally powerful, and the chassis are fairly equal too. That's shaping up to be a really good fight, a really cool fight, I think. But because he took an extra engine, his 4th now of the season, that's what's brought him back down. So he lost 3rd. If he'd have stayed in 3rd and had the race that he had,
he'd have fought for the win.
He could potentially have fought for the win. Certainly a strong 2nd. I don't think Charles would have had quite an easier race, I think, without that.
Oh, I'm not sure.
So, you're not sure? Okay.
I just imagining Norris and Leclerc going at it, and I think eventually the Ferrari would slowly coax past, depending on how much they yo-yoed. But that just play into Antonelli's hands, as it often does these days.
Yeah.
But no, I think it'd have been a very interesting race. I do think the Ferrari is a better car overall than the McLaren at the moment.
It's not by much, though, is it?
But I think that's mainly because, like you said last year, they focused so much on the championship. They're a few months behind now, which they're finally catching up. but it's again just a little bit too late, maybe. I think they're probably looking at a decent car next year, and probably need to slow down on some of the upgrades, to be honest.
Well, I think they've got some more upgrades coming, some decent sized ones as well. So that is going to be incredibly interesting to watch moving forwards. It was great to see both of them do reasonably well. I'm liking the way that the McLaren, are going, and I'm interested to see how that performs for the rest of the season. For me, though, the team that I'm most excited about is Racing Bull's VCARB.
Yes, Lindblad's top qualifying of his career. One to definitely watch. And also, I was surprised that they battled quite a lot on track. I think there was a note for investigation with, was it Lindblad and Lawson, I believe?
Was there? I didn't see that.
Yeah. It popped up briefly, and I was a bit annoyed because I need to see this because it popped up for just incident that happened. Maybe he pushed in too wide or something, but based on what I've seen previously, they really go at it. Like they're like almost fighting for the championship, like sort of Senna and Prost level. And it's actually like 8th and 9th. You got to have your fun at the end of the day, and it's racing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Did you see the difference between the cars, though? There's huge difference.
No,
huge difference.
I know that. Is it Lindblad that's got the upgrades?
I originally thought that, but Lindblad has said that. So there was a challenge, let's say, that Briatore has set to them in Britain. It's like whoever qualifies fastest gets the upgrades, and it was Lindblad that got them. As it turns out, he got 3, Lawson got 2.
Oh, right.
But if you put those 5 upgrades together on both cars, I'm assuming that's what he means, that is going to equate to such a jump forwards. I think Lindblad was in like 8th or 9th. When did he finish?
Lindblad finished in 9th.
Right. I think at one point he was running in 8th at one point, whereas Liam was a good 3 places below. You add those together and you stick them all on the car for Hungary, I think they are going to jump up the grid. And they are going in such good direction. As a pairing, again, I think are a very good pairing. Liam's the weaker of the two. I think Arvid is again on an upward trajectory, and we could probably see him in the Red Bull. Probably if Max leaves, if he does leave. I don't think he will, to be honest. But if, for instance, he does, he would be the one that would go up. He's just got that promise, I think. And as a team, I'm really impressed with them. I'm actually really excited by Racing Bulls at the moment. Of all the teams on the circuit at the moment, I think they're the ones I'm most excited about.
Did you see the 3-wide car as they went out? That was amazing. I think was it Gasly, Colapinto, and Lawson, I believe.
Yeah, it was nuts.
In what racing? And then Colapinto just sent it straight down the front. It was amazing to watch. Although one thing I was amazed at, I'm literally looking at the sheet here. Bortoleto in an Audi was 8th again.
Yeah,
that's not just an amazing thing. That's a consistent thing now. And that's not where that Audi should be. I mean, Hülkenberg's never in the top 10, really. So he's pulling performance out of that car, and that's really something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Because I think out of the new teams, I think Audi's doing a lot better than I imagined they would, and I reckon there'd be a strong midfield next year, potentially. No,
I agree. I was going to say the same sort of thing, actually. The progress that Audi have been making is solid. And it's not like lightning fast progression, but it's steady and it's going in the right direction. And yeah, like you said, Bortoleto has brought in yet another solid result for the team. I think it was a brilliant result for them. And long may that continue, because they're only going to get better and better. More so than what can be said for Williams, unfortunately. And I've been looking into this, because it's like we've had the promise of all this performance for so long and it's still not materialized. So I looked into, well, why? There's got to be a reason for it. I trust James Vowles. Don't ask me why. No idea. I believe him when he says that they're doing everything that they can. So I decided I was going to look into it a bit deeper rather than just the race results. And as it turns out, he isn't just, sort of trying to rebuild a team like the Formula One grid side team. He's having to reorganize it as well. And that's what he's been doing for the last few years. It wasn't that long ago that they were using spreadsheets of all things to keep track of purchases. So he's effectively having, unlike Audi, who have already bought a team and is now building on that, James is having to basically rebuild the team from scratch and build it up. And that takes time. Not 4 or 5 years, 8, 9, maybe even 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're having to do the race team as well as the organization behind it. And as he's already said, the race team isn't keeping pace with the organizational team. Hence why they're suffering a bit in terms of overall performance. What do you reckon?
Well, I think that Williams is basically in a Ferrari situation of like, next year's our year, we'll get better next year. I think it's almost like an Aston Martin in a way, because they've spent so much money and so much time and they've got nothing to show for it. And it's kind of damning at this point, because you'd expect to at least be sort of like in the points every now and then. I mean, you've got Carlos Sainz, who is an absolutely incredible driver.
Yeah.
I've heard maybe looking elsewhere. It's not set in stone. It's just, approaching other teams, as any driver does. And then you've got Albon, which I don't think's ever going to change anything. I don't think he'll ever get any points. I feel like Williams probably needs a massive restructure, and that's in the sense of team principle and everything else. However, saying that, if you then change the team principle, you change the vision and how he's doing it, and he spent so long doing it, how many more years does he need to achieve it? It's almost like politics in a way. I mean, if you take the figure out, you take all the motivation, the driving force behind it. But I do think that James Vowles is, for some reason, an absolutely loved person. I'm not disagreeing with that. But how long is too long? And at what point do you need to say, look, what's actually going wrong, and you just need to change something, and that is him basically.
Yeah, I guess you're right, aren't you? A football manager would never have had this much time.
No,
ever. So it's interesting that he has been able to continue for so long. But I guess you're right. I mean, how long do you give the guy? As nice as a guy he is, how long do you give him until you've got to say, well, it's not working, we need to bring somebody else in? Could it be that James moves across to the organizational side and they bring in a new team principal for the racing side, so he isn't having to do both?
Yeah,
that might not be a bad idea, because I want to see Williams come back up. They are an iconic team in the sport who have had huge success. I mean, it isn't really Williams anymore. It's only really Williams in name alone now, but that history, it would be a shame to lose that. And I think it's important to the sport that we keep its history and its heritage, because if we start stripping it out, what have you got left? You need teams with heritage, with history. Speaking of which, Alpine.
Shocking weekend, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing to write home about once again. What are they doing? At this point, honestly, and I don't want to get too political, but just get out of the sport. Renault clearly aren't interested. They've rebranded it. They want to get rid of everything and just keep an absolute shell of a company, shell of a car. And you've got two very good racing drivers that are just being dragged along. I just failed to see it. I don't like them as a team. Not a fan.
No, fair enough. Okay. Should we move on from that dead quick? I actually know. I mean, I think as a midfield team, I think they're actually doing okay. There are teams on the grid who are doing a lot worse.
I think it's because I bring it back to Renault back in the day when like Briatore were in it, and they were so amazing. And it's almost like Williams actually. Like they were winning, but now they have absolutely zero chance of having a win and a very, very slim chance of doing a podium. I mean, the last one was Gasly won it, and that was an absolute fluke and a phenomenal drive. But again, once in a blue moon, and that's not going to happen anytime soon.
So overall, then, who is your driver of the day?
So for me personally, it's got to be Isack Hadjar. So he got a grid place penalty. I believe it was because of the engine again. But he outperformed himself and the car. He had an absolute blinder of a race. And I think if he'd not have had that grid penalty, he would have probably been battling up with the McLarens and then going up to maybe even Hamilton. Don't think he could have achieved that, potentially. Hamilton was on form. But Isack Hadjar all day long. Once again, fulfilling his sort of like contract in Red Bull, being a strong number 2 driver, getting them points, getting them consistencies, and being able to actually help the team overall. So yeah.
Well,
what about yours?
Well, he played the team game, towing Verstappen during quali twice actually, which helped Verstappen get as high up as he did. For me though, it has to be Lindblad. He did such a good race. I am becoming a bit of a fanboy of both the team and him. Yeah, no, for me, my driver of the day is definitely going to be Lindblad. I'm so excited by him and by what lays ahead of him, to be fair. Shall we get to the nitty gritty then of what happened then at the end of the race? Yeah. Our predictions from last time round. So
shocking as always.
As always, yeah. So to recap, I believe I claimed Antonelli as a win, Russell second, Hamilton third, and you put Russell to win, Hamilton second, and Verstappen. So we both get one for that. Russell has done us dirty. Yeah. Both of us dirty.
Yeah, we'll do the scoring at some point, but we'll go for 1-1. Yeah. I just can't believe Russell had such faith in him, and he would have probably done it, or at least come second. But yeah.
Well, I think
my favourite driver ruined my predictions.
Yeah, it's not great. Right, okay, then let's do it. Let's do Hungary predictions. So I had to do this twice. I started and then I scrubbed it out. I've really struggled. Again with 2 and 3. So it probably comes as no surprise. For my first place, Kimi Antonelli. He has the package. He is the package. And I think he will just continue to ride this wave of momentum that he's got going for him. It's not particularly power-hungry circuit, I don't think. I haven't seen the track map yet, so I don't know how many straight mode zones that there's going to be. Don't think it'll make much difference, to be honest. I'm quite happy with Antonelli for the win. Second and third is where it gets a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fruity. Originally, I stuck Verstappen in, but I think even though he's got a more reliable rear wing now, I just don't think the chassis is there compared to Ferrari. So in second place, based on his previous performance and what he's managed to achieve this year, I'm going to go Hamilton in second. And in third, I'm going to pick Charles Leclerc. Not the other way around. I think Lewis might just have the edge on him in Hungary. It's always been one of his favourite tracks, you say.
Yeah. See, for my predictions, I'm going to do something that I don't think I've tried before. I probably have. I'm going to double down.
Okay.
I'm going to go for George Russell in first. He can do it. He will do it. He has to do it. He needs a good result.
That's exactly what you said last show. He can do it and he will do it. No.
Eventually, this will work. 2028.
Oh, God, yeah. So, Russell for the win for you, yeah. Okay.
Then I was toying with second. Now, I did actually want to pick Antonelli, but I reckon one of the Ferraris will make the Mercedes lives a bit of a misery. So, I've actually gone for Hamilton in second.
Ooh.
Now, I should have gone for Leclerc. That's who I realistically think will get second. However, wishful thinking is back. So let's just hope that they don't crash into each other again. And then Antonelli in third. I think that as long as nothing bad happens, he will get third. Might even approach second. Saying that, I will not be surprised if third gets changed for someone else.
So Antonelli, Hamilton,
Russell.
So where are you placing Leclerc in that then?
I wanted to put him second, but I think that Hamilton...
You don't think... right, okay. Okay. I'm looking forward to the point at which we have another team to choose from.
Yeah, I think that it makes sense if we have like a Norris come in third, or like maybe even a Verstappen. Yeah. But I think realistically thinking, when you think about like what would happen generally and the most likely predictions, you can't have anyone apart from sort of like your Mercedes and your Ferrari. They're the only options, realistically speaking.
Right, mate. As ever, a pleasure. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. And let's hope to God that Russell doesn't have yet another nightmare for you.
We'll see. If not, see. I'm not doing predictions for 2 weeks, and I just want to see what actually happens when the gods aren't involved.
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, from the summer break, we've actually got a little bit more structure around this game, all being well. We're talking about that. Keep an eye out for that as well. If you listen to the show but don't follow us on socials, please do. Because it all helps the overall growth of the show. If you fancy following us, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on all of them using the handle @TMFpod23. Please do go and give us a follow because it really does help grow the channel. So please, yeah. And then there's also the website at www.themotorsportfiles.com as well. Right, I think that's pretty much it, mate. Good luck.
You need luck as well.
My driver's Hamilton, and he's generally always there. I'm hoping Leclerc's going to come back and actually feed it in as well.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'll be surprised if Antonelli's not on top, to be fair, but we'll...
Wishful thinking, as always. Yeah, it's got to be done.
There's always an element of that, isn't there? Right, dude. Until next time, I will see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon, mate. Bye.